Pitch Deck 101 LLC, powering the next generation of unicorns. At Pitch Deck 101 LLC, we specialize in market research, brand innovation, market integration, and client conversion optimization. Our team of experts is dedicated to providing the strategic insights and innovative solutions needed to accelerate growth and unlock your company's full potential. Whether you're a startup looking to attract investors and your ideal clients, or an established business ready for market expansion, we're here to guide you every step of the way. Let Pitch Deck 101 LLC fuel your journey to exceptional business success. Contact us now for a free consultation on how we can position your business to become a unicorn.
Welcome to another broadcast of Seven Figure Media. In the event that you're watching this program for the first time, well, allow me to introduce this platform. Now, if you're in business and you're thinking of ways to start and scale your six, seven, and nine figure brand, well, this is the platform for you because on this platform, we give you practical strategies and tools that you can deploy to position your business and your brand for success. Now, this program comes to you with a kind compliment of Seven Figure Media. And today we're going to be having a pretty interesting topic. We will be talking about personal branding and how you can use personal branding to position yourself for success. The beauty about today's program, we will be looking at some real life personalities who have used personal branding to position themselves for greatness in this world. And you have some great names that we may examine today, starting from Donald Trump, Tony Robbins, John Maxwell, Denzel Washington, Mariah Carey, Taylor Swift, Les Brown, and so much more. These are all personal brands. Some have crossed over into corporate branding, but we will certainly be examining the strengths and weaknesses in corporate branding. So moving forward, you have information that you can leverage to make better, smarter, wiser decisions when it comes to positioning yourself to build a six, seven, eight, and nine figure brand. With me today in studio, I have two dynamic personalities, and of course, they are no stranger to this platform. I have Kanchan, and Kanchan, she's a fashion consultant and years of experience in business. And we also have Atina. Atina is an AI advisor. Great to have both of you here today. Awesome. Can we kick off today's program by asking each of you to give a definition of what personal branding means to you? And what I will do first of all is to give my overarching view of personal brand. Now, I believe personal branding is when you are able to build value and to ensure that that value is aligned to people needs, wants, and expectations. But beyond the alignment is to ensure that you can elevate that brand in the minds of people, meaning that that brand is known, that brand is now liked, and that brand is now trusted. So building a personal brand is all about getting into the hearts, minds, and soul of people and their best practices to do so. Some of the things that we talk about in terms of the best practices, building a brand should not be about speculation. It should be about data. And if you look at the 5 steps to build your six, seven, and nine figure brand on screen right now, 5 step 7 is business cash flow game plan. It will give you some insight into how to do that. It talks first about data. Your brand could be built using data, the right tools, the right processes, and of course, leadership. If you're thinking about building a strong brand, you can't take leadership out of the equation. And last but not least, when you have a successful brand, you want to systemize that entire process. So perhaps today we will cover some of this as we go into what is personal branding. Who wants to take it first? Kanchan, Atina, who wants to go first? What does personal branding means to you?
Okay, I'll go first.
All to you.
Okay. So for me, as a fashion consultant, personal branding, I see it as about embodying authenticity, your expertise, and your impact. I feel that what it's a personal branding should represent who you are, and if it is for a corporate, then it should represent what the business is about. Now, in my case, if in this case we're talking about personal branding, so I believe that it has to represent who we are. And like in my case, like it represents who I am and what I do, which is like I strategize, I work with, I get very creative with what I do. And of course, it's purpose driven. And what I do involves transforming, like it involves finding opportunities out of something that other people would believe is waste, which is toxic. So I think personal branding must reflect who you are, what you're about. So, because there are other people who would like to be able to relate to you, and that's the easiest way to, the simplified way to go about it.
All right, thanks for sharing.
Mhm.
Athena, your thoughts.
Well, since most of the client we're working with are consultants and the like 6 to 7 figure CEOs, a lot of them are really are careful about when it comes to building the personal brand. It is really to diving deep on the value they hold themselves as a person and how they position themselves as a thought leader of that particular industry. So the way that we have been helping them is to help them to stand out from that part of the core self so they naturally attract the like-minded people and repel those people are not. So that is kind of how I have seen people building a personal brand for the long run. Because a lot of time what we have seen other people are trying to figure out what is the outside world want the most, and they try to mimic their personal brand to meet that demand. That might work for short terms. However, if it's not who they are at core, that is not going to last very long. Eventually, the person are not be able to match up with that identity that is not them. So usually when we are helping the CEOs of executive making their executive brand, we're looking at their not only the core value, their identity, that we call it identity, is like the tone of voice, the message, the mission, their methodology, and how they with their wisdom and creativity go along with it. I mean, since I'm in the AI world, sooner or later, AI will be so normal. It's just like a regular, just like cell phone. Like we all have a cell phone these days, right? So it's going to be normal for every day of business operations. So what a human do, right? At that point. So that is where, the personal brand, like what we're talking about here, it become crucial for every business at that point. Because when AI can automate everything, what is left for human to do is we can dive into our creativity and our wisdom. And then that's how people can become a thought leader in the industry if they know this is where it's coming. Back to you, Gary.
Thanks for your share, Tina. The issue of personal branding can sometimes be a complex subject matter. I do believe, yes, the issue of authenticity comes into play, but I do believe that you can build a personal brand that is somewhat divorced from that. And I'm going to give some example. I can recall Miley Cyrus, who is a very famous singer. She started out by appealing to a young audience. I believe that in her mind and in the minds of those who were representing her, she was quickly growing out of that demographic concerns. So I think she then came out with a rocking ball, and that was a shocking, kind of video. And I think from that time she began to cross over. She had built a strong personal brand appealing to young people. And I think from the time she brought out the rocking ball, a lot of controversy around her started. But luckily for her, she was able to now rebrand herself as a singer who appealed to a more adult audience. And that was well orchestrated. So whether her childhood persona was authentic, it certainly did not prevent her from achieving the brand image that she had wanted, where she made billions of dollars, millions of dollars, if not billions. And the crossover again into the adult content, I think that was well orchestrated. But I'm not saying, I think in many cases, yes, being authentic is good. But as I said early on, I do believe that you can build a personal brand somewhat divorced from, one might want to say, the authenticity in that. That point becomes more clearer. For example, when we look at movies, you can start with Denzel Washington, or we can start with the great minds behind Bourne Identities, or the great minds behind James Bond. And very often you may want to ask yourself, how much of these actors that we are seeing playing out in front of the media represents the character that is being portrayed? Very often, their true authentic self is 101% divorced from the personality that we see. But guess what? Because the public becomes accustomed to seeing how a born identity and character is played, you become familiar with that character. What I'm interested in as we look at personal branding is that as one build a brand, whether the brand is based on your authentic personality or a persona that you assume, is how that brand image can be leveraged to move businesses forward. Because the overarching objective of what we are discussing here is the importance behind branding and personal branding. And one of the importance behind all of this is that we can take a Miley Cyrus, we can take a Denzel Washington, we can take a Tony Robbins, and what these characteristics or characters have in common is that as personal brand ambassadors, they can endorse a product and they can endorse a service. And because of the fact that they are known, they are liked, and they are trusted, they are able to create massive appeal and inspire millions and billions of dollars in sales simply because of that endorsement. And I think that is one thing that we see that these ambassadors have in common. They're able to inspire an audience, they're able to motivate positive public response, and they're able to significantly optimize the success of a business and personal branding. So if we can see these type of success with these successful people, one of the points that we want to emphasize here is that you, in starting your business and in building your brand, it makes a lot of sense to really commit your time, your talent, and resources, not only to understand the importance of personal branding, but to think about it and to adopt it to your organization in a way that can help you to attain your competitive edge. I will talk a bit later on in terms of some of the things that we are doing to help our community to build a personal brand and some of the success that we're seeing in that regard. All right, but great points, Atina. I now want to come open up the conversation so everyone can chime in terms of how important do you see personal branding, how important it is, and when we start thinking about starting and scaling a business. Do you think the company that has personal branding has a competitive advantage above companies or personalities that do not see the significance in personal branding? Who wants to take that first?
I'll show you some of the statistic. Actually, this is one of the since AI is getting involved more and more into the business. I'm sure many of you already heard about the agentic AI is coming. So just giving some time, several months or so, um, AI can take care of a lot of little tasks within the departments. Just like you will have another employee in the company. It's called AI agent, right? So now it get down to the point. A lot of people was wondering, well, if the AI are going to take over those works that we used to do, what we human doing now, right? So, and then that is the reason why I think we are very we're foreseeing this is in the future is when the AI is taking care of those mundane tasks, repetitive duplicate work, that leaves the human to do a creative work that we can really starting putting our vision into having the AI to help us get there. So matter of fact, 77% of a consumer is saying now they will actually buy more from the company that CEO have a very established online presence. 77%. Don't you think it's a little bit high? And 82% of people say they are trusting the company a lot more if the executive are shown up on social media. Isn't that interesting? So that is because now we are living in the technology age where everything need to be now. That's why there's Amazon, right? Amazon's so successful. They are not giving necessarily the best product, but they can promise you the speed. And that is the brand that companies deliver is speed, right? So but that is kind of what is your company going to be branding as. People don't want to keep seeing the logo and they don't really know who is running behind that logo, that company's image. They want to know the real human, or is this the bot is running the company, right? So I think we all come down to that point. As AI become more and more in the everyday business, people want to see who's that real human running behind the scene.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think it's a valid point from the perspective that knowing who you're buying from really helps you to make better, smarter, and wiser decision. But Kanchan, your take?
My take is personal branding is obviously very important because your person, I mean, it builds your credibility, and it it makes a difference, like what Athena said, with people want to know who the human is behind the AI. Like in your case, in our case, like in my industry, because the off price fashion industry is such that the names, I mean, like you can say the companies who operate like myself, who are buyers of off-price fashion, there's very they're names which are very prominent in the industry, and we are prominent for a reason. Like today, it's because I have built enough relationships with vendors all across the globe that the vendors don't have to look elsewhere. They can come to me because they have associated with me enough to know that, okay, my price is good, I will negotiate it maybe very little. Whatever they ask for, I would negotiate very little because they know I would want it to be a win-win, and they know our payment terms is quick. Again, that's our personal brand for my company, that hey, Empire Apparel pays really quickly, they don't delay. Hey, Empire Apparel, their packing style and their shipment style is very easy. And there are some vendors who are very particular about that, because for them to redo what they have to do, imagine if they have to repack a 20,000 pieces of goods, they would rather sell it to someone who can buy it from them quickly, good price, and hey, you don't have to do anything, just put it on a boat and get it going. So we have our personal brand to be okay. You can, for us, like, we are easy buyers, flexible with price, and that's why you want to deal with us. Basically, that's the personal branding that we put out, and it's very important because that people need to have a reason of why they want to work with you. So like you said, the human behind the AI is also a reason. Like, okay, say if it's me behind the AI that Athena's talking about, they'll be like, who are you? But if it is God knows Jeff Bezos behind the AI, they'll be like, yeah, we would really like that for us. So it's like there is the personal branding is, you can say, for people at large, of why, gives them a reason of why they should work with you or why they would want to. It is one of the very big factors, I would say.
Okay.
Mhm.
Now, on the point of personal branding, what are some of the weaknesses that you guys are seeing? What are some of the strengths that you're seeing? And what I want to do before I open it up is to just do a comparative analysis. When one look at Tony Robbins, he has built a very strong personality, and he project his personality and brand in his institution. And in most cases, because his personal brand is the loudest in his branding, if you're to take him away from the brand itself, that brand almost doesn't exist because he's not there. He's the guy that is going to come on stage and he's going to bring energy. He's going to light the room up. He's going to get everybody excited and highly motivated.
Mhm.
And the public has grown accustomed to that. When the public is buying into his program, they're buying into his program largely because of that. You find that that branding may have some limitation when, as a private equity investor, if you're looking to buy that brand, knowing that you're not going to buy Tony Robbins with a brand, that has some limitation. But we can look at a similar brand where there are differences. For example, when we compare John Maxwell to Tony Robbins, you see something different. John Maxwell is a highly influential speaker on leadership. He's known the world over. But what John Maxwell has been able to do is one, project himself as a strong public image. So we have the personal brand in there. But there's some separation from his personal image because of some strategic steps that he has taken. For example, he have used years of experience doing what he has done, and he has literally built out a unique ecosystem. So he has used data, he has mastered his tools, he has developed very strong processes, applied great leadership, and systemize his entire process. By that, all of that, what do I mean? Is that you can take John Maxwell away from the John Maxwell program and still have John Maxwell
Mhm.
because of the systems that he has put in place. You cannot do that necessarily with Tony Robbins. It's not that he can do it, but a certain mindset has to come into to play. Particularly tools and processes and systems and leadership has to be adopted to really create that kind of environment. Last but not least is like when we look at John Maxwell, he has built out an institution where he certified persons all around the world to become John Maxwell representatives. All right. And there is where we have seen a crossover from personal branding into corporate branding, where he has been able to nurture public trust in that process. Not the same with a Tony Robbins in terms of personal branding. What is your take on that? Is there, do you see, what are some of the similarities? What are some of the differences? What are some of the weaknesses that you guys may see?
So since I've been learning from Tony Robbins for a while. So of course, when you're learning from your mentor, you don't just take out everything that is teaching to you. You get to see what to do, what not to do, right? Like what you shared earlier, because Tony did try to sell his business for multiple times, and he's not able to because his brand is
Because of the same reason.
yeah, because his brand is way too big. It's bigger. His brand is so big, bigger than his company's brand, and
No,
that is
his personal brand is louder than the corporate brand.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
it is loaded, and that is the reason why compared to like I think I shared this before, like peak potential, where the T-Bar Eckert had tried to sell his personal brand in the past, but his company's brand is right next to it. So when he's ready to sell, he just swaps so that his company brand be more of the forefront, and he stepped back as a CEO to run in the more in the background. So that's how he's able to sell his company then Tony tried to sell it over and over, but just too big, right? So yeah, so definitely that there is a balance between the personal brand and the company's brand. Just like if you go to the Shark Tank, if you have seen some of the people, if they're trying to sell as a service or things like that, the CEO, it is the brand. The people at the Shark is not going to take it. They say, well, you are the brand. I can't scale this business because if you're gone, this business is gone too. So that is the reason why, even though personal brand, it is kind of like this is kind of how I see it. It's like a part of the organs in the body. You got to have a brain, you got to have a heart to function. So to me, the personal brand I look at is because it's more touching, it's more in the heart, what is the core of this executive, right? And then I see the company's brand is a brain, right? And you cannot run the body, without those two major components. We cannot do with our heart, with our head. We cannot do with our head, without our heart. Otherwise, we'll become like a robot. So to me, those two things are kind of work side by side. One to me, I when I see the personal brand building process, the personal brand has to be, excuse me, slightly above and in front of the company's brand, and the company's brand is right next to it. So that is reason why whenever I'm trying to helping the companies build, they are building side by side. But this one has to be slightly ahead. The personal brand has to be slightly ahead. So when the company is ready to scale or to sell, they're able to do a quick transition when the company's brand become more dominant and the personal brand can step back. Did that make any sense?
Yeah, points taken, Atina. What are your thoughts, Kanchan?
I feel that some of the weaknesses of a very big personal brand is as in the person is being boxed in as like they're being boxed into like that's just who you are. Like for instance, I'm just gonna give for instance who's that famous chef? Gordon Ramsay. For instance, like that he's very that he's all about cooking, right? So if he is to open a restaurant, which he has few restaurants, of course that's going to become famous because he's an incredible chef. Okay, but let's say Gordon Ramsay does something else. I don't know if he starts, I don't know, having his own brand of, I don't know, like Dyson, a hair dryer. Nobody's going to look at him because they'd be like, who is this guy? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how trustworthy that brand, how well that would do for him, that line, because he's so boxed in of being the food guy, the chef, the guy who makes really great food. So anything in relation to food, would people would run after him. But if he's trying to branch out into something else and run the business model, I'm not sure how well that will do for him. So like the boxed in is what I'm talking about. Like he's really narrowed down to be, you're the food guy, basically.
Don't you think that's kind of personal brand is though? We want to be known
It is, it is, it is. No, I'm saying which is great, yes. But it poses the, like, what I would think as a weakness is if there is somebody like him who would like to branch out and do, and maybe they find that, hey, you know what? Like this is a line of something that is also money making, and they just want to grow the business bigger, right? And branch out into other things. It poses a bit of a problem because people will be like, how trustworthy is your brand for this? I'll give you another example. Kendall Jenner, Kylie Jenner. They're a very big public figure. Kendall Jenner, Kylie Jenner. They started, I mean, like on TV, on reality shows. Again, that's their bread and butter. That's what they're great at. They're great models. They're great, reality TV figures. Yes, they started their own clothing line. I still have the samples in my office. They started their own clothing line called Kendall and Kylie. That's what it's called. The brand did not last for more than 2 years. Within the first year, the brand up dead. Nobody wants it. Not even Macy's stores wants it. And Macy's is the biggest in US, and they are Kendall and Kylie. They are like, wow, public figures. Okay, one is a model, one is a reality TV figure, one is a I mean, like, and Kylie Jenner is known for her what do you call it, cosmetic line, right? The lip liners, the lipsticks, whatever. Like, she has her cosmetic line that boomed, and it was amazing. But what happens to the clothing line? Boom, didn't even last a year. The second year they closed. They didn't even last. The success didn't even last a year. That by the second year they shut down. We bought some of their merchandise. We are stuck with it. So that's why I'm like, some public figures, like, the downside of personal branding could be you are so boxed in that they don't trust you in the other lines of things that you're trying to do.
That is funny you said that because through my mastermind community, so we do know there are some people are very have very strong personal brand, but they're broke. But there are people I'm not so well known for, but they are pretty well off. So yeah, you have it is. Sometimes to me it comes down to how they run in a business too. Just someone have a strong
Yeah.
personal brand but doesn't know how to run a business is
Yeah,
not going
and
to
I'm not sure, to be honest, what went wrong in their clothing business, because individually, Kylie Jenner and Kendall Jenner, individually, they have their own successes in their own way. Kendall Jenner is a huge model, Victoria's Secret model. Okay, so she has her own successes when it comes to the whole modeling life, right? And Kylie Jenner is a billionaire when it comes to cosmetics. Like, her cosmetic line, the whole liquid lip, she started everything. And her mother is the one managing that empire that she built for herself. The mother is managing it, and they're doing extremely well till today. From the time they started, no matter the amount of competitors, Lady Gaga came out with her own cosmetics, Selena Gomez came out, she's still on top. Kylie, people are still looking for her cosmetics regardless. Her line did not die down. That's my point. So it's like, that's her individual, like, brand. Is the girl with a lip, and so cosmetics do well. Her liquid lipsticks sell out like water, and it does really well. But Lord knows what happened to both of them. Kendall and Kylie combined, making their own casual clothing line called Kendall and Kylie. That's the brand. It did not do well. You can read it online. It never lasted.
Okay.
And we
Uh,
were ordered, yeah, the stocks. We thought, oh, that's quite, they're a famous brand. Maybe we could sell it really well, right? We're stuck with it till now. A little bit. We still have a little bit more. Never sold. Very difficult.
yeah. Well, that's something definitely as time progresses, we'll look into that. But I think in many cases, we can look at the data and we can see that when a personal brand is well developed and well built, it's easy to attempt new areas of business and succeed with that. We see that with Jeff Bezos. He started with simple books, but then he crossed over into many other areas of business and where he established success. We see this with Musk, and he started in one area and then he had many other crossed over. But I want to come back to some of the things that we spoke about early on. We spoke about Tony Robbins, and Tony Robbins is one of the top paid speakers that we have in the world. But we also established the fact that how he struggles multiple times to sell his brand. And I'm certain that the same thing will also happen to Les Brown, who is one of the highest paid speakers that we have in the world today. From the analysis that we have been doing, what we are seeing is that in building a strong corporate brand, a strong personal brand, if the element of systemization is not being attached to it, it undermines how far you can go with that brand. And let me say this, the fact that Tony Robbins is unable to sell his brand doesn't mean that the brand is weak. It just means that the brand is weak without him as the front person for that brand. He still has an extremely successful business generating millions upon millions of dollars annually. And I wouldn't want to say anything different from Les Brown. But another famous personality for us to look at as we widen the conversation on personal branding, strengths and weaknesses, is the Great Opera. All right, the Great Opera, she made it big through all of her challenges. She made it big in terms of her talk show, and she was known by millions across the world. What was really unique about the Opera platform is that when one sits on her program and she does her opera magic on them, that person become known across the world. That person instantly builds up confidence and trust and credibility. And that's something that her unique branding blend with her corporate branding was able to do for anyone sitting on her program. Because I believe Oprah was so strong as the personality behind her platform, when you remove her from that platform, what happened in that space? It become totally void. All right, it became totally void. But as I'm looking at this, because that's a multi-billion-dollar industry, one of the things that I keep asking myself is what could have been done to prevent that from happening. So here is where a Tony Robbins could have been out, Les Brown could have walked away, and Oprah could have walked away, but still maintain some control over influence in the public, similar to what John Maxwell would have achieved. And there are ways in which that could be done. And but I'm not going to necessarily go into it now. But there are practical steps that one can take, and this is precisely why we at Seven Figure Media we continue to amplify conversation around data conversation because data is important. We need to document why personal brands may fail when the personality walks away from it and what the data is saying of what can be done to ensure that they can walk away, but they can still have a winning formula. You need to have the right data. You need to understand the right tools. You need to create strong processes, ensure that you have a strong leadership there, and your entire process needs to be systemized. Because when to systemize, essential role can be delegated out to ensure that the Opera effect, where when someone sits on our program, like the Dr. Phil, they can almost attain instant success. Because before Dr. Phil sitting on the Opera show, I had no idea who he was. But the world learned about him even more when he sat. We have also saw what Oprah did. You can have a book, and from the time you sit on our program and she starts to talk to you about that book, in minutes you have a bestseller. You are a best-selling author. So with her personal brand, we see what it can do. We can push a step further and we can see what Michael Jordan did with Nike. Nike was a struggling brand, but when Michael Jordan endorsed that brand, it became known all over the world and it became a multi-million, multi-billion dollar industry. This is what personal branding can do. And as time progresses, perhaps in our next program, when we talk about personal branding, I may be able to shine some light in terms of what can be done when personal brand becomes divorced from public relation to ensure that momentum is still built. Some of the clues that you will get lies in the John Maxwell model, but it goes even deeper than all of that. But I want to say this as I open up for you guys to chime in. I do believe that in today's business world, if you are seriously not thinking about how to incorporate personal branding into building your 7 and 9 figure brand, it's a tremendous missed opportunity. So it's either you are building the personal personal brand into your entity, or you're collaborating with personal brand owners that can help you get where you need to go much farther. What personal branding really helps you to do, and I think Atina would have used that word early on. Personal branding is a softer touch. Personal branding is the heart. Personal branding is the care. Personal branding is what allowing you to not only establish visibility, but to establish relationship and connection with your audience. And that's what makes a massive difference in terms of a brand that is may fail because all of this is not in place, and a brand that is going to strive and significantly optimize its success. Atina and Kanchan, your thoughts?
So for me, because I remember when I was reading the articles on from Forbes, the majority of people of the company, they do know personal branding is very, very important, but it's only 15% of CEOs are implementing, because there's a fear, right? Fear of showing up, a fear of whatever that persona. So this is kind of where when we're showing with the CEOs, it is just like what Gary shared out earlier. It is the value that you want to present in public as a thought leader. That is the version of yourself you want to be known for. It's really just what you want to be known for, because I know when I was coaching a lot of consultants and solopreneurs, they are thinking of personal branding is, I don't want to take a picture of my food and telling people what I eat today. That is not about personal brand. So that is the misconception we keep hearing people when they first start hearing about personal brand. They thought they had to take a picture with their friend and with the food, how their day has been. It's not a reality TV when you have very clear idea what you stands for, what you value, what you want to be seen as a thought leader. And a matter of fact, that is exactly how we train our CEO with their chatbot. So this is kind of how we see the real estate agent, because real estate agent is very much about their personal brand, because there's so many real estate agents out there, right? And their high earning income potential of the individual, and they're constantly building the personal brand by I still getting the like a little postcard, personal branding kind of postcard now coming in from the people in town. So that is kind of one of the ways to keep continue building the personal brand, want to show in front of you all the time, so you keep remembering the next time you want to upgrade your home. But now we can make it a lot easier. So for example, so the real estate agent want to build a branding page, and then they constantly have to be doing manual work like it used to be, and now you don't have to be. We can actually clone the real estate agent and train their tone of voice with the SOP, frequent ask question, that become a frequent ask question chatbot on the website, and then it can sort through the questions, the most common questions being answered, or the people are looking for a certain property, and they already have a trained SOP to answer certain questions, and they just basically giving those questions answered with a chatbot that's already been trained properly. And when they're saying they're ready to view the home, they want to schedule the showing, that would link into the human to schedule on the calendar and schedule the meeting. We've never let bot schedule the meeting. We have heard the story in the past when people are thinking, oh, we can just have a bot's friend do everything. But this is what happened when a company, not going to name any name just for the privacy sake, are realizing why the customer are sitting in front of the house and waiting for the repair guy to show up and saying, where I schedule at 12, where's your guy? I'll be here for an hour. And then that does not only happen once, and then there's keep happening in the days after, and people are just pissed. And they're just wondering what's going on. And they look in their system, see what's wrong with the setup, and then realize the bot thinking about, oh, I'm just going to be so helpful. And then I see this person needs help, and want to schedule the time for someone to look at their to do the estimate and things like that. So that's I'll be helpful. I'll just schedule an appointment. Did not verify with the human's calendar, and they just go ahead and start scheduling a whole bunch of appointments without verifying with the human. And this is where we're talking about doing the automation and with the AI integration properly. So that way, whatever things schedules be verified by the human.
Got you. I got you. I'm going to join you before opening up to Kanchan to say that personal branding is very, very, very important. And let me give an example as to why this is so. I could recall I was speaking with a client who lives in Australia, and what he was able to do is to build up his social media platform where he had hundreds of thousands of followers, but he was behind the scene. What he did, he sell that brand, and then he recognized that no one knows him, so he could not repeat the process. He began to struggle in that whole process. Now, had his personal brand been established, the reverse would have been true, all right, because people know him, they like him, they trust him. It would have been easier to accomplish that. And I can go into many other examples in terms of how personal branding can help. Another example that I want to share with you is that one of the things that we do to really help people to build their personal brand, one of the first things that we do, we write their books. So you're seeing right before you this book that is titled Becoming a Better Man. Let me tell you, Men's Forum, Family Forum. Let me tell you a little bit about this character because I'm certain that you don't know about him. But in a few months, perhaps you will start hearing so much more about him. This guy, his name is Chris. He has been in the construction field in the US market for quite a number of years. He has spent over 25 years in this industry, has really uh, built himself up with tremendous success. But no one knows about him. No one knows about him. He has been a rock star. He has been into band. He has been entertaining people in the US for quite a number of years. And now for the last few years, he has been committing his life to inspiring men and empowering men. No one knows that. No one knows that. Not enough people knows that. So what we did, we started to work with him because we recognized that he needs his personal brand, and before we cross over into the corporate brand. And one of the first thing that we did is to write this book, Becoming a Better Man. It's a work in progress. Now let me share with you some of the success stories so far. We sent over chapter one of this book over to him, and he sent it out to his community. And he said within a few minutes of sending it out, someone who's in the field in publishing in his community and reach out back to him. And this is in less than an hour. They reach out back to him and they asked him to co-author books with some of their authors. And they wanted the chapter that we sent to him to do that. That instantly give him some recognition. All right. And from the time that we started this process, he appeared on multiple podcasts because he was getting multiple requests from different persons because of how we're going about it. Now, what this is doing literally is opening up doors, all right, for visibility, for reach, for impact, for client conversion, for cash flow optimization, all of which you need to successfully grow and scale a business. So this that we are talking about today is not just looking at historical data and presenting on historical data. Here is where we have some real data, real facts, and projecting the importance of personal branding. So I just want to share this a little bit, and I want to share this to the public. I do believe having your book is a new business card because when you hand a business card, there's only so much of information that can be written on the business card, and very often that information is abstract. But think about this: you're able to present to your ideal client your book. That book will help them to really understand your way of thinking. Your book will help them to understand the value that you're bringing to their industry. Your book will help them to make, better, smarter, wiser decision as to why they want to do business with you. And I can share some of my personal experience very briefly with you in terms of how having a book helps. I travel, and sometimes when you travel, you have to go through custom checks. And I could recall at one time, this happened I think twice. The custom officer opened my bags, and of course, I always work with my business card, which is my books. And they opened it up and they saw, hey, you're an author, because of course my picture was there. And from that point, there's a stop the search. So you go and you enjoy your stay. I could recall handing out my books to influential personality because one person was a social activist, and I gave her the book. Within 24 hours, I received a call. We are going to Manhattan. We are speaking to the Bar Association, and we would like you to come and do a presentation at at Hilton in Manhattan. So I'm saying having a personal brand goes a very far way. It opens tremendous opportunity. And what it does for you, it helps to break down the barriers of being known, break down the barriers of being liked, and
Yeah.
break down the barriers of being trusted. So I love this conversation. And I really want to say, thanks to both of you, Kanchan and Atina, for chiming in on the importance of having a personal brand. Yes, it may have some weaknesses if you want to sell the brand, but guess what? As we go deeper into this program, we're going to show you how to rise above those weaknesses by systemizing your processes so you don't have to be a statistic with a strong personal brand that you cannot sell. But let me open up before we wrap up. Kanchan, Atina, your thoughts, closing thoughts?
Mm.
So for me, I know building the executive personal brand not only is going to help attracting the top client, the top talents into the company, but also it will strengthen the culture of the leadership within organizations. So it's actually crucial right now because 75% of employee will look up the company's brand and their leader before they even apply for the job. So just for the executive, if you're a CEO out there, you have to build your brand, especially right now. We're in the shortage of finding the top talent. And if you want to attract the top talent into your company and keep them in there and to driving and work with you, like like Elon Musk, right? He has people like working for him, even though they're working like 24/7, almost even on the weekend, but they still follow him. So that is the leadership that's getting people to stay there, and that's the strength of the personal brand of that leader.
Mm-hmm. Kanchan?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Athena. I think that I've also personally seen firsthand how a strong personal brand, like since we were talking about business cards, like a strong personal brand is also your business card.
Yeah.
So, and not only it creates visibility, but in industries which are a little bit saturated, I would say, like in my industry, fashion, it's quite saturated. The niche that I'm in, it's not saturated, but on a bigger umbrella, like in the tech industry, in the fashion industry, in things which are more saturated, I feel that where personal branding is important in these cases, especially where relationships and trust and storytelling matters. That's where personal branding can really help a lot because it, like I said earlier, like it becomes a reason why people choose you over someone else that has the same in the same industry or the same product or the same service, you would say. So that's what I feel that it helps with. And also, it kind of helps us to control our narrative. So instead of you letting, I mean, your personal brand allows you to define who you are for your corporate brand, for your product. Also, it allows you want to brand as yourself, even a product, even a person, or even a company a certain way so that you decide the narrative around it. You decide how you want people to view you as, basically. So I think personal branding also helps you to control the narrative. That's
Good.
there. Mhm.
I, I love that point, Kanchan. You get to control the narrative. So whether the narrative is uh, represent your true personality or not,
Mhm.
you get to control it. On that point, we see a whole lot of control in the narrative and plays very significantly into personal branding. For example, we saw this big story the other day with Blake Lively and Ronald Reynolds and Baldoni.
Mhm.
And a big name was also calling that, except two, and that big name is Taylor Swift.
Mhm.
But the way Taylor Swift is known to the world is, a compassionate, caring, loving person. But some of the things that came out from um, some of the alleged things that came out from those who are investigating this scenario doesn't necessarily paint her in that light. And she's now disassociating herself And from that entire saga, which I believe was built around a movie, it ends with us.
Yep.
So that's controlling the narrative. You need to have some very strong PR person around you. Another controversial or interesting topic for us to look at, perhaps in our next program, we can talk a little more about that. One may want to say, how is Donald Trump in strong personal branding? Let me say this before anybody chime in. One might want to say, hey, he's good. Some might want to say he's bad. Some might want to say he's ugly. But let me say what? I believe that whatever he's doing, he knows exactly what he's doing. And I believe that he knows how to influence, craft the narrative, project the narrative, and influence public opinion. Now, I can say this based on statistics. And we have seen only recently he had won the vote of over 51% of the American electorate. And that's exactly why he's in president. So, regardless of what you're going to say about his personal branding, it has mass appeal, right? So, I'll
Mm.
leave it there for now. But we'll go into it perhaps as time progress. But personal branding has relevance across all social, corporate, and political platform. It helps a lot. You guys want to throw a jab or two before we wrap up? I see Tina's laughing her head off.
I was like, where should I go with this? Do I want to support my brand? Do I want to damage my
No,
brand?
you can talk about your brand. You don't have to do what I did and talk about the mastermind behind, social brand and Donald Trump. You guys can talk about your brand as we
Yeah,
wrap up. I just want to point out
yeah.
some of the characteristics about
I
Brandon, and we
mean,
need to be aware of it.
yeah. I mean, even Barbara Corgan have make a point of Donald Trump is very, very, very smart on this. Is very, very good negotiator. So, I mean. Nobody. To me, nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect, so of course, there's always if you have a personal brand being on the spotlight, flaws. That is just fact. Like I'm not perfect, right? If you really zoom in everything I said, even there's some part of them may not be, whatever people feel like they're, maybe I'd like to hear a bit more on that particular. So to me, it's yeah, it's all that is what make us human. Let's just put it this way, right? If everything's so perfect, then we'll just have bots, right? Let the bots be a president.
Yeah,
Let
and I
everybody.
do believe is part of controlling the narrative. I mean, anyone that followed Donald Trump in the last election, what his team did, they went to the ground with their ears wide open and they listened to the concern of the people. And what you think they did? They built narrative along those lines because they recognized the majority of the persons they had a specific concern that they were crying about. And from all indication, it seems as though the same was done in this last election. So by going to the ground with your ears wide open, you collect the information. We call it data, and by collecting the data, you weaponize that data. We call it tools. You create a process where you can drip feed and mass feed information representing their narrative. You build a leadership team and you systemize the whole process. It seems as all of that was done to achieve an objective, controlling the narrative. That's all a part of personal branding. So we might want to say it. One might want to say, we years ago they had this movie, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Perhaps not. Perhaps as we talk about personal branding, we can divorce it from that movie. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Kanchan, I know you didn't get to pelt your jobs. Let me hear you.
I just believe that personal branding is not just a marketing tool. I think that it's the story people tell about you when you're not in the room. That's what it is. And it's the trust that you built. It's all like it's whether it's you or whether it's product, again, whether it's a corporate, it's also the reason why the opportunities come. It's a reason why opportunities come to you.
Yeah,
It's also your personal branding. Yeah.
yeah.
So it's,
Y-
yeah, it has its place. It's very important. It has its place, and it cannot, I mean, like, it's a factor that is so important, that in a business or in yourself or whatever you're trying to achieve here, like, it's so important to not forget that, not forget to build your personal brand, you know.
Yeah.
Mm.
You know, Kanchan, the statement that you use, I love it. Personal brand is all about the story that people tell about you when you're not in the room. I
Mhm.
think that sometimes that statement could be overused
Mhm.
and perhaps even misused. And let me say why.
Mhm.
Yes, you're right, is what people say about you when you're not in the room. But I think a skillful leader
Mhm.
is what people say about is a thing that people say about you that you want them to say about you when you're not in the room also.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
if we can take Trump, I mean, he's the guy that he just don't care. He
yeah.
wants you to say the things that you're saying, and he just don't care because
Mhm.
guess what? He's a showman, and it is keeping him in the media. It's keeping him, in the minds and hearts of his supporters. And once he continues to be there, he knows that he stands a chance to, increase his visibility and achieve its goal. So there's so many different ways in which we can look at it.
Mhm.
Yes, we want to say is what people say about you when you're not there. But I think what we have seen over many years is that it's about you being strong enough, influential enough to allow the narrative to be crafted exactly how you want it to be crafted because you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And that's a little deeper because that's where we go into things like psychographics.
Mhm.
That's where we go into things like demographic analysis. That's where we go into things like cultural and geographic realities. And when we take all of this into consideration, you recognize that shaping opinion is not accidental when you know what you're doing.
Mhm.
It's intentional. And in a skilled person's hands who really understand personal branding and corporate branding, they have all of these tools available to them to achieve the objectives.
Mhm.
But great conversation. I really, really love talking with you guys.
Mhm.
And any last words you guys want to say before you wrap up? I don't know if Atina wants to talk about her brand. I know you might be doing some new things, or if Kanchan, you want to do the same. And you can share those thoughts if you have any thoughts to share before we wrap up.
Well, I was just curious when you're talking about those culture influence brand. Maybe this could be another topic for later on. So, how
Yeah.
is the cultural influence building personal brand? Because I've certainly noticed in the Western culture, there's no problem building personal brand. It's very easy. But for the Asian culture, it's a little bit tougher because the culture origin and things like that is all about the togetherness. And then the reason why I said that is because one of my coach actually did tell me, Athena, I'm wondering why in your video you was we. Like I said, we have. I didn't even realize until he pointed out. I was like, this particular video, building your brand, you're supposed to say I. And then for some reason, every time I'm about to say that particular part, I startle. It's because in that cultures of a we, the togetherness we built together as a team is so ingrained in part of my identity. I
Yeah.
think there's a piece of me. So I know that's maybe that would be another topic that we can talk about in the future because I definitely know there's a huge difference, like the nuances when it comes to building personal brand. People's like, well, in the Western countries, like I have no problem building my personal brand. This is easy, just right, just
Yeah.
say who you are. But for certain cultures, it's more challenging.
That's true and very true. I do have an interaction with an Asian personality, and the same thoughts that you have just expressed is some of the similar things that I hear. And I think for her, she's in the corporate and personal branding space, and what she said to me is that she projects herself outwards because she wants more Asian women and Asian people to see, she did it and they can do it too because it's not part of their social norm and to be loud and to be visible and to project themselves out there according to what she's saying. So,
Mhm.
great point, Atina. Your last thoughts, Kanchan?
No, I agree with Athena about the culture thing, because that's quite a few things. There's quite a few features of me that's being done specifically because I'm a minority in my country and doing what I do today.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's actually specifically it's because I'm a minority. So they're very interested with the fact that you being an Indian living in Indonesia, which is a majority Muslim country, I'm a little peanut there. So like for them it's like you are being known globally and your work is being appreciated globally. For them it's like it's worth putting the word out there, worth putting myself out there. It's so that people know that if so that people are aware that hey, you know what, there is potential in this profession, number one, and there's also potential in who you are. Even though if you're a minority doesn't mean you don't have a place here, you do have a place here. It's the matter of finding the right opportunities and the matter of how you build your personal brand. Like there's a reason why I'm able to kind of like get myself to deal with countries who people from here choose not to deal with because of the culture, and like there's the simplest example I can give is I deal a lot with Pakistan. In the norm, I mean, like in the like if you read our history, we're supposed to be mortal enemies. I'm a Hindu Indian, they're Muslim Pakistani. We're supposed to be mortal enemies essentially. But I today some of my best vendors who choose to deal with me is they choose to deal with me for me. They oversee the religion, the culture, the this, the that. For them, it's like I don't care. I like dealing with you. Like you're honest, you pay quick, blah blah blah. Okay, your company pays quick. Like we trust. I mean, I know your boss is behind you, but we're dealing with you. We choose to deal with your company because of you, not because of your boss, not because of the money, not because of anything else.
Mhm.
Like it. That's how important it is.
Okay. All right. Thanks for sharing, guys. And the last thing that I want to say before we wrap up is I know that there are many businesses across the world that starts and they fail. And we want to help. All right. We want to help you. So in the event that you're looking for capital, and what we do, if you're in any of the 50 states in the US, we can get you access to capital, debt, equity, credit, creative financing, hard money lending. One of the things that you can do is to go to the description of this video and peruse the links. You will see one of our investors, or MB Capital. Today they have allocated millions of dollars, millions and millions of dollars to businesses.
Mhm.
Find the link, press the link, and you can position yourself to be funded, or you can directly DM me, and I'll be happy to help you to make those connections and make representation on your part to ensure that you get the capital to grow your business. Now, starting a business doesn't guarantee your success. And that's the reason why we have developed 5 steps, 7 days business cash flow strategies. Why? Because this program is uniquely designed to give you a blueprint to cash flow your business in 7 days. So you will learn 5 important steps, which is fundamental. You will learn about the importance of data. Very often you start a business and you don't have the data. You don't know who's your ideal client. You don't know what are their specific needs. You don't know how to innovate products and services to reach their expectations. You may not even know how to find the ideal clients. If you can't find them, how do you connect with them? If you can't connect with them, how do you position your business for success? Everything that I've just spoken of is data. And when you get access to this body of knowledge, it helps you to make better, smarter, wiser business decisions. And we're going to give you a blueprint where you will learn the step by steps to position yourself for success. Now, you may have the data, but not the tools. We're going to help you to understand the important tools that you should have. We will help you to build the right processes. We will help you to understand leadership. And leadership is very important because I see many people, bright people, talented people in business with a great idea. But guess what? You don't have the right leadership tools and team to execute on the vision. So guess what? The vision become compromised. You need leadership, you and your team. We're going to help you to understand when we talk about leadership, what exactly do we mean? I can give you a hint. Leadership is about thinking ahead. Leadership is about seeing beyond problems. And leadership, most of all, is about taking informed action to achieve predictable outcome. The predictable outcome that you want is to position your business for success. And that's something that we can help you achieve with our 5 steps, 7 days business cash flow strategies. Last but not least, when you have systems that are working, you want to systemize it. Systemization gives you transparency, accountability, scalability, but above all, it allows you to delegate. So you can apply the 20-80 rule, where you can delegate 80% of the task that has to be done to your competent team, and you focusing on the 20% that is most important. So this is an exceptional program. Again, if you want to learn more about this program, go to the description. You will see the link for this program. You can get registered for this program right now and start to position your business, your brand for the ultimate success. success. Kanchan and Atina, I want to thank you guys from the depths of my heart for being here today. You guys are exceptionally talented, successful in your own field, and it's always a pleasure working with you guys.
Thank you.
You.
Most welcome.
Pitch Deck 101 LLC, out of New York, do more than just support our clients to pitch their businesses to investors access working capital at 0% APR. We also support our clients to grow and scale their businesses faster and cash flow optimize. Pitch Deck 101 LLC recent partnership with 10X Branding Marketing LLC and Global Capital Inc. out of the USA has enabled us to form unique partnership with multiple financial institutions, which means we can do even more to accelerate the success of our clients. Let Pitch Deck 101 LLC give you the support you need to pitch to investors, access capital, access new markets and grow and scale your business. Contact us now on 332-235-1099 for a free consultation.